Hey everybody, welcome to Game Off 30, the big 3-0. This week we got some news. Xbox 2020 kicked off this new console season with a third-party preview event. People are pissed about the lack of gameplay. We talk about that shortly. We also got our Fireside chat this week. We'll find out what that's all about very soon. And then lastly, our showcase of the week, very tactical games. We got Gears Tactics, and XCOM Chimera Squad. I'm your co-host, Brent Langevin, aka Arcadia, along with...
Solid Talker, aka Andrew, aka other things.
Yeah, what other things?
Oh,
now I'm interested.
There was a time in high school when I was very bad at vamping and coming up with jokes on the spot, and man... You know, I thought that would be enough to get me out of this, and it's just not getting there.
Anyway, we got some news. Episode 30, yay! That's kind of cool. We've been doing this for a while. The episodes have caught up to my age. So,
really?
Yeah. Well, we don't need to dwell on that, but still, that's one of few milestones left in the horizon. We're gonna hit 100 in like 2-3 years. That's about all we can look forward to. So yeah, hooray!
Just those two things, nothing in between.
Yeah,
as I am as old as time. Since time immemorial, I have wandered the earth, poking at UI and saying no.
Yeah, well, when we hit 106, like, we'll celebrate your birthday.
Oh, thanks.
Want to talk about some fun Xbox news this week?
Yeah, I think I heard there was a bit of it. You mentioned that there might have been like a game or two mentioned offhand.
Yeah, so Xbox decided to rename their sort of summer of games leading up to their new console, the Series X. They're calling it the Xbox 2020 events, not just one, it's a bunch. They're presuming there's going to be one a month, but the only other one they announced during the actual stream was in July. So they might be counting their E3 conference as their one-a-month time frames, but yeah, the third party showcase is how they kicked this whole thing off, and it was sort of suggested that it would be all about gameplay. What were your impressions about the gameplay you saw on Xbox 2020 Part 1?
Oh, I mean, if we're going to talk about gameplay and what that word means, I think the elephant in the room is the Assassin's Creed Valhalla trailer. That's the big one that I felt showcased a unique amount of gameplay.
Which gameplaying was your favorite in that trailer?
None is an amount of gameplay. It is an amount. Now the justification I've been seeing around the parts of people who are looking to justify this as a good thing, mostly people on Ubisoft payroll, seems to be that it was done in engine, so that's basically the same as gameplay, right?
Yeah, so there's definitely two sides to that coin. Like, if you pay attention to the trailer, like, really closely, like, and I'm not saying that everyone should have noticed, like, there's definitely clearly parts of it that are gameplay, but it was presented in such a way that it's like I don't know which part of this is gameplay or not. Like, if that's confusing to me and you, like, that's going to be confusing to everyone.
Right, and I don't think that there was... Even if the trailer contained gameplay, which I'm not going to say it didn't, it definitely wasn't a gameplay trailer.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't a trailer whose purpose was to show me the gameplay and the loop and the way this game plays. The term gameplay is losing meaning. We're saying it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely wasn't like a first 10 minutes trailer, and I think that's what everyone expected, is like fucking 15 games come out where some guy walks on and goes like, and this is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then it pans down right into the third party perspective. Like, I think that would have been equally boring if that's what they showed, but
you know, they could have done like that, what was it, I can't remember the name of it now, Watch Dogs Legion trailer from last year, where they were showing off what's new in Watch Dogs Legion, and here's some of the new fun things you have to look forward
Yeah.
to, in a way that was a bit punchier than a first 10 minutes, but
Right.
also wasn't a smattering of gameplay among in-engine cinematics.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah, more of like a gameplay showcase than, a gameplay trailer.
and I'm at the point now where like we've seen enough of next gen that reveal of this is all done in engine. Like, yeah, I know. It's fine. Like the graphics are going to be really good. I know it's next gen. It all looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Like that switch of like, oh my god, it's not there anymore. It's not PS2 Xbox era where you're like, oh my god, they can do this with games. Like I've seen gameplay footage from PS4 that looks incredible.
Yeah. Like that's the thing is like this current generation's not totally dated. Like most games aren't taking advantage of the hardware currently, but there's like that minority that wants to really push the limits, and that's the next gen's for. But if we're not seeing that, then there's no appeal to a next generation, especially if all of these games are coming out on the old generation and aren't optimized for the next generation. So you really need to take these essential moments to be like, this is what next gen is fucking about, and not show off something like a starship shooter, which is not a graphically intense game whatsoever.
Are you thinking of a specific starship shooter at all there?
Chorus. It looked fun, but I don't think like most of these games, it didn't get me excited for the next gen, and that's more importantly than the misleading marketing is that I wasn't erotic about any games other than Yakuza afterwards, and I was only hyped on Yakuza because they announced it for Xbox, but neither here nor there.
Now, how did you feel about? Because I know you've got some experience with the Dirt series.
Mm.
How did that look to you?
Honestly, I think that was the one that was like, oh, I know it's going to be pretty, but this trailer does nothing for me. Like, I'm excited there's more Dirt. Dirt's a lot of fun. Did it look any different from Dirt 4 on that stream? No. Like, I couldn't tell any, fidelity differences whatsoever. But it doesn't mean I'm not hyped for another Dirt, but I think that time slot is almost wasted on a game like that.
Now, were there any what games were jumping out at you? What are your highlights? What's your top 3 from that?
I'd say like most people, Bright Memory Infinite stood out. Like that looked like a sharp, cool game. I hadn't heard anything about that before. Apparently, that's just like a new iteration of an existing game. I didn't read too much into it, but that was my understanding.
Yeah, that looked really cool, and I loved the gunplay in it. That looked awesome.
For a second, I thought it was Bulletstorm 2. I'm not going to lie to you. And I was like, please fucking be Bulletstorm 2, for the love of God.
Never going to happen. Never going to happen.
Especially at this point, because that remaster came out, like 2-3 years ago now? And they're like, oh, well, that didn't sell well. You know what?
We gave it one shot.
Yeah. We're just going to sell the fucking IP to THQ at this point. Reading afterwards, I got more interested in the medium. I thought it looked like a spooky, creepy trailer, and I was like, oh, interesting, spooky, creepy, not really my cup of tea. But then I heard what they're doing with the game a little bit more and how they're going to utilize next gen. And this is sort of what I was getting at with, like, they really needed to use that time to, teach people why this next gen is important, because our eyeballs aren't going to be able to tell right off the bat whether it's a next gen game or not. Especially if most people aren't even going to be using 4K TVs. So there's going to be a lot lost. But anyway, the medium, I've heard that a lot of the terrifying parts of the game are these like instant transitions to completely different zones with completely different architecture and layouts of the map and stuff, and it happens like literally in a flash because of all the SSD speeds, and like that opens up all new potential for like terrifying shit, because you lose a lot of tension when it's like, okay, you enter this building and a minute and a half loading, and then suddenly there's something spooky scary after a minute and a half, and you're like, I guess. But if it just happens and you're completely disoriented and it's just still coming at you. Like, there's a lot of really cool opportunities for spooky scares and storytelling and just technical feats, and that got me really interested.
Okay, nice.
And Call of Sea looked really cool. I don't know if that's the next gen like killer app, but again,
No, but that's something that I
excited
think
to see
could.
it.
I was happy to see things that were a bit more, I don't know, ponderous, contemplative over there.
Mm.
You know,
Yes.
than that it wasn't all just racing and horror and guns.
Yeah, there was a big like cyberpunk presence and spooky scares presence. I don't know why I keep saying that. And it seemed, I don't know. Do you know if like horror games sell really well? It seemed like a minority showcase in a lot of ways too.
I don't. I think it seems like it's one of those things that the ones that sell well sell very well.
Yeah.
But also I don't know if it's cheaper to make them, or
Yeah, might be.
I'm not sure. I'll tell you, I was really excited for Second Extinction. That looked really cool to me.
Yeah, interesting concept. I wanted to see more dinosaurs though.
Yeah. They had a couple more, and being able to see it still frames on
Yeah.
the Xbox site was a little nicer. There's some pretty fucking rad looking mutated dinosaurs there with like electricity powers.
Oh man, Dinosaur X-Men. Now we're talking.
And then I've been hyped for Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines 2 for what has been like a year and a half now since they announced it.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, I've been excited for that for a while.
I think that trailer is probably the first exposure I and a lot of people have had to that franchise, and I'm definitely more interested in it now.
It's a really cool one. The first Masquerade Bloodlines, I think, is pretty poorly aged. Like it's one of
How
those
old is it
games.
now, roughly?
Oh, I want to say maybe 10 years, maybe even more than that.
Yeah, that's gonna be a bit dated for
Oh
sure.
wow, no, 16. So 2004.
Oh, holy fuck.
You know what? It's me trying to remember when high school was. Oh, that doesn't feel great.
Oh.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. But that was also during that period of time where like people were still figuring out how first-person RPG action games should be played, and like how the exploration and moving around should work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rough edges to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and play Witcher 1, which isn't even as old as that, it feels the same way. It's like, how did you feel like this was, like, movement felt natural? Like, what is wrong with this character?
So those are the ones that I and then obviously Call of the Sea I really liked the looks of as well. Gears 5 is also going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I again, it was hard to tell in the stream, and I had a 4K stream going through whatever that app is called, and it was still like sort of hard to tell as someone who had played the game already, because it's already so beautiful. Like, it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. They nailed the engine in that game. So I really interested to like get my hands on it, especially because it's gonna be, I assume it's gonna be free upgrades. I assume a lot of these games are gonna be like retroactive. What do they call it? It's smart delivery.
Yes, smart delivery.
I'm hoping to see a lot of Xbox games do that retroactively, like Gears 5, which I think they said is already gonna happen. Like, I'll just boot up Gears 5 just to be like, whoa, look at these fucking god rays and the ray tracing.
It's going to be interesting to see how the ones like, because Yakuza and actually Vampire as well are optimized for Xbox Series X, but aren't 4K or HDR.
Yeah, I don't.
Is that
I don't
just
know
taking advantage of like the SSD hardware that you know of?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm curious about, because when the One X came out, they were super clear. Like, it wasn't just One X enhanced; it was like One X enhanced and like HDR enabled, 4K enabled. Like, it was always clear labeling on everything. And so far, I've only seen that one that one logo that they have. It's just like, it's gonna be on Series X, and like by default, it's gonna load faster. You don't even have to do anything. So that's not enhanced. That's not what that word means. So again, I think they need to get their marketing in line with, you know, their goals for the next generation.
Yeah.
But
Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, yeah. And I the only time I shouted out loud in the conference with happiness was Yakuza, because this will be the first time day and date it's being released simultaneously, cross-platform, which I assume includes PC as well. So everyone should be happy about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, good news all around. Well, good news for Yakuza all around. Some mixed news otherwise.
Yeah, not great news if you're like a real stickler about the definition of the word gameplay.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, not to beat a dead horse, but I definitely would not have wanted to watch somebody with a controller in hand and like camera over their shoulder for, 45 minutes. But they definitely missed the mark here with a lot of how they presented this.
Yeah, it was just bad messaging.
Yes. Yeah,
that's all.
I think their retrospectives on that also agree. It's like, yeah, we really shouldn't have, talked about it. Should have just had a stream. Been like, here's the fucking games. You like games? Here's games.
Yeah, I'm okay with games.
Yeah, I like games. All right, shall we do our fireside chat?
Yeah, I didn't have any other news. Let's jump into it.
Wait, did you?
No, I didn't. That wasn't me being sarcastic. Oh yeah, no, I didn't have anything to say. I was just going to talk about like my exclusive access to those Diablo 2 remastered leaks, but that's fine, whatever.
Okay, all right, fireside chat. All right, hey Andy, got a
Hey.
question for you.
What's up?
What is something you wish you knew more about, but realistically will never put the effort into learning?
Oh God, man, you're making me think about all sorts of not fun, happy things.
Oh.
Think about my age. Think about all the things that I'm not gonna do.
Thank our producer for this question.
What's a childhood dream that you should really just admit that you're never gonna accomplish right now? What's something you should just give up on?
And on your deathbed, what are you going to remember feeling incomplete because you never did?
Look at the nonfiction books in the
piece
bookcase
of
behind you,
garbage.
and just think about which of those are you going to admit to yourself right now you'll never read. Just take a look at those and admit some of your own failures. You lazy sack of shit.
Tear Churchill's biography right in half now, because you're garbage.
Yeah, I'm gonna read a fucking Churchill biography. I'm sure he's great. I think the thing that I knew more about is tough because I'm stupid, so I don't know a lot about a lot of things. I wish I knew more about electronics. I don't know how any of it works. I don't know how phones work. I don't know how... I understand the operation of a phone, but
Well. Nice job.
I understand the operation of a touch-tone phone, like a Bakelite touch-tone phone circa 1994. If it doesn't have a flash button, because I don't know what that does, and it doesn't have any of the pre-programmed like fire, police, poison buttons, just simple. It's got 12 buttons on it and a little hang-up thing.
For the poison button call? Is there a
Poison.
poison department?
Just if you need poison,
Oh,
just push it and they'll bring poison to you.
fucking 90s, man.
Just a nice gift basket of poison delivered right to your door.
They were truly the golden age of America.
Yeah, no, I don't know a lot about electronics. I remember reading once that there was on naval ships, as opposed to those other types of ships, there are phones that operate with no power, just that they're powered by the sound of someone talking into them, and that you may as well just tell me that it's powered by ether and magic. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand it. I don't know how it works. Like basic electronics. Once you throw a computer in there, it kind of like obfuscates it to a point where I'm just like, oh, and then computers deal with it, and then it's fine. Like I'm almost more impressed by a record player than I am by an MP3 player. Because like MP3 players, oh well, you've got computers in there. If you put a computer in it, it can do whatever you want.
Software makes sense.
Right.
Well,
But
wires are bullshit.
This is like a piece of vinyl with scratches in it. And
This is very weird.
that scratch could be one instrument, it could be 1,000 instruments. Doesn't matter. Like it's just a scratch that a little needle goes through and oh, there goes music.
I wonder if that's just a footnote now in like who even takes classes on vinyls? Like, what would that fall under? Audio engineers? Like, audio engineers would never create vinyl or anything like that. Like, it's still sort of useful information, but how is it passed down? Like, who's even manufacturing this anymore?
Oh, I mean, you go to Barnes. I was gonna say Borders Books and Music. Jesus, you go to Barnes and Noble, a store that still exists, and they still have records. You go in there, go to their little they've got a little table with all the new vinyls on there, and you want to get people.
How do you get like new blood to like I get that they have the machinery to manufacture it, and there's some process already that does all this. But what happens when the fucking 80-year-old dude that's your fucking vinyl engineer dies? How do you like? What happens when the machine breaks and nobody fundamentally understands what the fuck to do with this machinery?
You know, on a tangential note, I was reading a year ago that there's a real problem because not enough people are getting into watchmaking and watch repair.
Oh, that's
so
sad.
like, there's a lot of people who know a lot about watches, but they're all aging and they're aging out of working years.
Yeah,
and there's not enough young people learning about how to fix and build watches, and then I was like, oh, maybe I could do it. It doesn't look like it pays well and doesn't look like it's a very rewarding career, but
Not
yeah, I would
less.
imagine that in some niche audio engineering, there's probably a lot of that as well.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
just basic electronics, how like general things around me work in any way. Again, the ones that don't involve
Makes sense.
computers.
Yeah.
How about
That's,
you?
You know, the first thing that jumped into mind was music. Like, I know, like, I understand music functionally. Like, obviously, I understand how it's made. It's not whimsical, but then
It's got
like,
a good beat. You can dance to it. You know,
yeah,
all that.
exactly. But
Yeah.
it's more of like playing instruments, I guess, and learning how to read sheet music. Because like I'm 30 now. Like, am I really gonna learn how to read sheet music? Like, I can read tabs. Who can't read tabs? I can play guitar to a really, really, really poor, embarrassing degree.
Okay, good. So you're ready to go to a party and just like kind of
Yeah,
pull out
yeah.
of the trunk of your car and yeah.
Yeah. Just serenade all the honeys. You know how
Nice.
I do.
I do.
Yeah, but like actually learning an instrument and like understanding like how to read music, like I'm never gonna get around to it. Like I thought Rocksmith was gonna be the answer to that, and like just cover that one skill, cover the cracks there in my personality, because that's the only thing in the world I don't understand, Andrew. Like literally.
Everything else you've got down.
makes-
I know this about you.
Yeah, everything makes perfect sense. I have the mind palace is, yeah. I think I'll turn 50 and then I'll end up buying an acoustic guitar, and then I'll like 3 weeks later I'll probably just smash it against the wall or something. Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty good way to go about it.
Yeah. I'll
I think
probably
that's
be
a pretty
angry for lot of
standard
reasons at
guitar
50.
experience.
Yeah. I had an electric guitar for a while, and it's taken a beating. I've punched it a few times.
Well,
I'm not good at music. People have told me I'm also tone deaf, so maybe that's part of it. Maybe my brain's just not wired for this.
Music is about passion, and punching guitars is nothing but passion.
Yeah, that's right. Now, if only sweet, sweet sounds could come out for the honeys when I punch it, then I'd be on Easy Street.
You gotta get one of those like kid guitars where it's just like each of the frets is a button, and it just like plays like totally sweet synth music.
Yeah, I want like long lady fingernails, except they're like those cord clips to make it easier.
Oh yeah. I don't
know if that'd be less painful.
You say that like that's a thing, though. Like you say, those long lady fingernails that are cord clips.
Yeah, well, maybe I just invented something. Maybe that's what I should get into, but I never will. Is inventing sweet, sweet guitar picks.
Yeah, do it. I'm all for it. Let's wrap it. That was Game Off episode 30. I've been both hosts. Brent is going to go off and start a new business for ladies' acrylic press-on nails for guitar, and
well, we're never going to release this episode. I don't want anyone stealing that business idea.
That's true. This will get released. This will be part of your Kickstarter announcement.
All right, showcase time?
Yeah, why not?
All right, why don't we kick it off with some XCOM? Chimera Squad. What is this game, Andy? Why does it exist? What is it?
You know, chimera is an interesting word to throw in the title there because it is itself a kind of chimera, if I'm remembering what a chimera is correctly. It does feel kind of like a mashup of a bunch of different things into one interesting, if gross-looking creature. But still really interesting and, like, you know, one that I would have thought was really cool. I did think it was really cool. It's a cool game. Chimera Squad is kind of like if you played XCOM and thought the part where you break into a building and discover all the aliens there and like they get alerted and they go like, oh, it's guys, and then you guys have this little back and forth shootout like that. 2 turns is really fun. What if you made an entire game that was just that?
Oh.
And that's kind of what they did. Like, it's just a breaching game. It's still kind of turn-based-ish, and it's still kind of XCOM-ish, but the whole game revolves around you arriving somewhere and kicking down a door and shooting everyone in a room, turn-basedy, and then kicking down the next door and shooting everyone in that room, and sometimes kicking out a third door and then shooting everyone in that third room, and then you're done.
So is there no like hit chances or anything? It's like as soon as you breach, you kill everyone?
The hit chances are still there. And I'll dive into that more detail than gameplay in a second, but it's just that breaching boiled down. Like it's XCOM in the raw almost.
Mm-hmm.
That you've just taken that aspect of it, that excitement of breaking into a new area and seeing what's there and dealing with the immediate consequences of entering a room slightly unprepared, and then sorting that out. And then in between, you've got your standard XCOM-y, you've got your mission, you're not really the geoscape globe anymore, it's a city that you're in, the whole thing is the scope of one city, and your Chimera Squad, which is a squad of humans and aliens that are now working together, because I guess that's fine.
Is there any story rationale for that, or is it just we wanted this to happen?
It's now, you know, aliens and humans are living in some kind of coexistence, which is difficult to swallow because the entire series up to this point has been about how the aliens just want to murder you all the time, always.
Right.
But fine, you're pivoting a little bit, doing a bit more of a... Yeah, it's fine. You want to do something different, it's fine.
Mm.
Yeah, and now you're fighting these splinter groups within the city that are trying to gain power, cause unrest. They're really into robots, so they're really into like mutations, and you know, there's the 3 factions, and you fight them one at a time. And then after you've defeated all 3 factions, you've won the game. So that's the story rationale, essentially. What it does allow is it allows for the game to kind of give you more specific characters and classes. So you can't just get yourself nothing but snipers and then have a big sniper squad and have everyone have fun with that. You now have to...
It's a good XCOM 1 strat.
Yeah, it worked. But now you actually have to like balance it between someone who's good at healing and someone who's good at hacking, and the snake woman who's the best, or the guy who's good with pistols. You know, there's a lot more of that. It feels more RPG-ish. Of, you know, picking which squad of 4 guys you're taking out with you to each mission. So the way that the general missions play out, you are faced with one or a couple of entry points you can post up against and get ready to breach in. And these might have different benefits or hindrances, debuffs, or whatever the term I'm looking for is. And you know, if you burst in this door, more of the enemy are going to be alert and are going to take shots at you. Whereas if you burst in this side door, you're going to be able to you'll get an extra chance, an extra move to you know, extra action or turn you can take.
Okay.
And usually it's, you know, there's maybe 2 guys can post up at each door. Maybe one of them is locked with a digital, you know, like a digital keypad. And if you have the hacker with you, she can open that up. Or one of them might be a vent, and the snake lady can actually slide in through the vent and pop out of the middle of the room, like she's fucking Batman from the, you know, the floor, and that's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
And then once you get in the room, it kind of plays like a, I want to say it almost plays like Disgaea. Like you have that timeline that you see in turn-based games.
Yeah.
Or rather than it being...
Who's going next?
Yes. Rather than it being enemy turn, your turn, it's which person is going next. And it took me 3 missions to really turn my brain off of enemy turn, player turn, and get into that mindset of you know, in that weird order. And so that makes for some interesting tactics, because you have to, like in, you know, Disgaea and similar, you have to plan around who's moving next and what enemy is going to have the chance to attack next. And sometimes you have abilities that allow you to pull guys further up into the timeline so you can chain attacks better.
That does definitely beg a question, though. It's like one of the things I like about these non-grid based tactical cover-based games is that you can take risks you wouldn't otherwise be able to take if you only had that turn. Like you know, charge up to an enemy, try and blow his fucking head off from a foot away, and like in a game like you're describing, Chimera Squad, you run up, and if you miss, like, that dude's fucking dead. Like, everyone's gonna be on his ass. Like, there's no way your other teammates can run up and be like, oh fuck, I gotta cover for this dude. Oh, this is Fubar. And like, that makes for a lot of fun in the core XCOM experience. So how does that play out?
It's interesting because you still get moments like that where if you know that the move you're about to take, you know, this guy's going to run out, and then the guy you've got another guy next, or you've used an ability to pull another team member up to be next in the timeline, you can take a chance like that. But a lot of it is, the game is a lot more cover based. You are in cover, or you're moving from cover to cover and making these shots.
Yeah.
And because the areas are much smaller, because it's, you know, 1 or 2 rooms at a time, there's not a lot of traversal. You might have a room that's, you know, it's 2 adjacent rooms, you breach into one, and the thing you need to get at is in the second room, and so you need to, like, kind of fight your way towards it, but it's a lot less move and shoot and more shoot, maybe a little bit of movement, and then once you're clear, you move everyone up.
Gotcha.
At least that was my tactics. Maybe I'm garbage at the game, and people are going to come in and say that's dumb. But that's kind of the general overview of it. The between mission stuff is standard XCOM. You've got some people, you can send these guys off to training. People get hurt and they need to be sent off to heal their scars so that they have higher health and things like that. You unlock, you research and unlock items. You research and unlock different equipment upgrades.
Sure.
All that's pretty standard. The big difference is that these are now named characters. You can't name them yourself. They are named. They have dialogues that are scripted. So it does kind of get rid of some of that organic storytelling.
Yeah.
But
are they like story characters? Do you get backup characters if they die? Do they not die at all?
So as far as I played, and maybe I didn't play on like super hardcore Iron Man, I'm the best tactics man in the world. I just play on whatever the default difficulties are. When people die, they come back to base and they have a scar. So if they die in mission, and if they die in mission and you have additional breaches you need to do, so you're only like on phase 1 of 3, then at the next phase they will be replaced by like a pretty shitty robot who's just kind of there to help out. And you have a certain number of those that can be swapped out. I think you have 1 that can swap out for a person. Otherwise, they're just fucking, you know, you're just down a man.
Interesting.
And you have the option of, you know, with medkits saving them during the mission, but if they don't make it, you get a robot. If the robot doesn't make it, that sucks. You get, in between missions, they have a scar, and the scar, I think, lowers their total HP. So they can still go out on missions, but until you train them to get, like, you know, PT or whatever to fix their scar, they're going to be kind of running at a disadvantage every time they go out.
You can get PT to repair scars. What?
Yeah, there's a whole training thing, and it's basically like some of the training is improving your skills and improving your max HP, improving your running distance, and then one of the trainings is just like, I don't know, advanced healing, deep healing, something to get rid of the scar. The best character in it is the Snake Woman, because the Snake Woman has the ability.
Sounds like it.
She's fucking awesome. Her name's Torque, and she has the ability to use her tongue to pull people to her.
Oh, wow.
Which makes for awesome tactics.
Fucking
Like,
lizard snake bitch.
she on her own is like that character, and that gameplay is the basis for an entire game. As I realized, like, you can have her run all the way forward and then use the tongue to pull one of your own people to her position. And then keep running people forward. You can when you have, the concept of Overwatch in XCOM, where a guy is just sitting there waiting for someone to come into his line of sight so you can pop them off. She can use her tongue to pull people through other people's Overwatch.
And it triggers it?
Yep.
That's OP.
Right? It's amazing. You can use her tongue, like, enemies will throw grenades, and you can use her tongue to pull people out of grenade blasts. Like, it's an amazing ability. And then when she grabs an enemy and pulls them directly towards them, pulls them directly next to her, she can just wrap around them with her snake body and bind them until they suffocate to death.
Oh, this bitch. Too cool.
It takes a couple of turns, but, like, that guy just isn't moving. So you've just immobilized them. And if you do it while you're in cover, all right, that guy's just going to die eventually. It's great. Like, the whole meta of just her character was interesting enough to support an entire game. And I had her in my squad nearly every time. So there's, Andy's XCOM Chimera squad tips. Use Torque as often as possible. She's great. The thing that blew my mind about this game is that it released for 50% off. It released for $10.
Yeah, that's pretty bonkers.
And it was way more than a $10 game. This was easily a $20, $30 game. Like, it's not some crappy little mobile spin-off. This is a full game. There's easily 15 hours of gameplay in it. Maybe 15, 20, especially if you play it more than once, which with an XCOM game you easily can.
Is this just on Steam now?
I think it's on Steam. I don't actually know where else it is. I'm gonna check that now. It looks like it's just Windows, and I think it might just be Steam.
Nice.
But yeah, I think it was just that first week was $10. Still, now it's 20, but it's definitely worth $20. Definitely worth 10 or $20.
So, is there a strong story in the game, or is it like the XCOM games where it's like aliens? Well, I guess it's not like aliens are bad. Somebody's bad. Kill those somebodies.
It's kind of 50-50. There's definitely dialogue between missions, both between characters and between you kind of the narrator, exposition character that tells the story of these factions and what are they doing and why are they getting all so worked up and why are they all that. And it's there, but it's also just a general. You are the police squad that's helping to keep down these resistance fighters, or not resistance fighters, these rebel rousing groups that are trying to cause trouble in the city. It's not an important story. You can skip it entirely.
Who would you recommend this game to?
I think if you go into it without being like, as I've said in previous episodes, I'm an XCOM super fan. I've been a big fan of the series for a long time, and I loved it. I thought it was a great game. I think I liked it a lot more than Phoenix Point from last year. I think it definitely found a way to make a different game that still had really fun, organic moments of, holy shit, how did I survive that turn? That, XCOM is one of those upper echelon of turn-based strategy series that does that very well and consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say that I would recommend this to anyone who's an XCOM fan or a turn-based strategy fan that's willing to go into it without being super jaded and, it's traditional XCOM, so it's probably going to be garbage. Like, if you go into it expecting to have fun,
they try new things.
Right. Go into it expecting to have fun, and you probably will.
Are there any comparisons you can make to Rainbow Six Siege, another famous, popular breaching game?
Rainbow Six, like the FPS?
Yeah.
The long-running FPS?
Well, when you say, like, breaching, like, that's the first game most people are going to think about.
I actually compare it more to the Door Kickers series of games, if you ever played those.
Yeah, that's a tactical game. So.
Yeah. I would say it's, It's more like door kickers.
Okay. Yeah, the game's fairly popular. It's on
Yeah.
all platforms.
Yeah, or actually, it's also reminding me a little bit of that oft forgotten Rainbow Six game for the 3DS.
I didn't know there was
Shadow
a 3DS Rainbow
something.
Six.
It was a turn-based. I think it actually might have even been made by Julian Gollop of XCOM fame. Shadow Wars.
Shadow Wars.
Ghost Recon Shadow Wars. It was a turn-based Ghost Recon game for the 3DS, produced by Julian Gollop of XCOM fame.
It's the edgiest name I've ever heard.
I know,
Shadow
right?
Wars. Boy.
Yeah,
Any closing thoughts on XCOM?
it's much more than a $10 game. I don't know what the hell they were doing selling it for $10. I think that actually hurt it. I think that made it look worse than it was. Almost made it look like a shitty tie-in game.
Yeah, they devalued themselves.
Yeah.
Did the price since go up? Was that literally just a pre-order special?
Yeah, it was just the first week after release.
Okay. Well, missed your opportunity, but $20 is still pretty fucking cheap.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely worth $20 if you like turn-based tactics.
Yeah, you get a lot of value out of like the core XCOM experience for $60. So like even if it's half of that for $20, that's still hot value.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now, why don't you tell us about a different tactical game?
Yeah, there's
if you know of one.
I've never played a tactics game ever in my life. Gears Tactics is also a game that I played this week that is very, 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 very similar to XCOM in a lot of ways. And when people compare it to XCOM, they're completely within their reason. So much so that almost all of the concepts were at least initiated by XCOM, but they translate so shockingly well to the Gears franchise that it, like, in hindsight, it seemed like such an obvious decision to greenlight this game. That, or they just did such a good job translating it to a tactics game that just feels like a core Gears experience. So, Gears Tactics. The primary knowledge for it is you're playing a bunch of burly boys and burly girls in big armor. If it wasn't clear from what we've been talking about, tactics games are obviously, top down. You're looking over a field, and it's non-grid based, so you have a lot of free movement. It's action based, so in this game by default you get 3 actions to move around the field. In the core Gears experience, you expect a lot of cover based shooting and stuff, and it's no different tactics. There's cover littered everywhere. So much so that it feels very weird. You feel weird and vulnerable when you're not in cover, and for good reasons. You usually get blown to pieces if you dare step out of cover for 10 seconds. The other side of that tactics coin, from Chimera Squad, you take your entire turn at once. So the reason I asked that question is because in Gears Tactics, I found, and just like in the old XCOM games or core XCOM games, I found that a lot of the fun of the game was me, whipping out a retro lancer and charging up the field, and then suddenly at the last second realizing that the guy was going to counterattack me before I speared him in the chest because I was too stupid to take a look and make sure that he didn't have an opportunity attack. And so then suddenly this dude dukes you in the face and you're standing in the middle of a battlefield with 10 people. Found myself in that scenario quite a bit because apparently I'm really bad at cover-based tactics games, really bad. I played XCOM on a low difficulty. I played this on intermediate. Although this, I will note briefly, is much easier than XCOM. It's not simplified, but it's easier. But yeah, I found a lot of the fun was sort of those just wild moments of frantically trying to save your teammate because you fucked up so bad that they're absolutely gonna die unless you figure out the perfect way to wipe the entire enemy team and save your fucking teammate. And yeah, you bear that burden as the commander. Your stupid fucking decisions can easily get people killed in these games. And just like in the core XCOM experience, like somebody dies, they dead, they super dead.
That's a very heavy burden to bear.
Exactly, yeah. And especially like in XCOM, so one of the differences I'll note real quickly is in XCOM, like you get pretty attached to people because they level up pretty quickly, so they're sort of always part of your core squad. And if they die, like you feel absolutely hindered by it. Like you've lost a core part of your team. You now need to retrain somebody or get someone like all that gear that they had and all like this stuff on top of the emotional connection you've made with this character when you're shouting like nice shot Cindy, I can't believe you blew that stupid bitch's face off. You really do get connected to these characters. In Gears that wasn't really the case because if you played with a teammate they would at best always be like the minimum level for recruits. Like you'd have to consistently use them. So I found myself deleting old characters a lot.
Are the characters not story characters?
There are 3 main story characters. I also, for quote unquote pre-ordering the game, got another hero character, but through Act 3, and I believe there's 4 acts. I haven't beaten the game, but through Act 3, there's only 3 hero units, and they can absolutely not die under any circumstance.
Okay.
You cannot use them in every match, whether they're injured or not. In certain chapters, you'll have side missions, and they happen like quote unquote simultaneously. So you'll pick a side mission, you'll do that side mission, and then to continue progress, like to finish that chapter, you might need to do 2 or 3 more side quests. And whoever you used in the first side quest is gone because these missions are happening simultaneously. So it'll say traveling, and you can't use those heroes again. So in those situations, it's really good to have, like 8 team member bench ready and willing. But you can almost always outsource that from the recruitment center. I didn't find much reason to maintain my party outside of my heroes. Obviously, always maintain your heroes because you have to use them in a lot of fights. But yeah, there's 4 classes. There's 4 subclasses within each class. There's a ton of customization, no microtransactions, so you can customize to your heart's content. And I was really happy with all the customization they gave in the game because sometimes I'd be like, I'm not going right into another mission, so I'd start fucking creating new color combos on my characters that I was currently using. And doing a lot of customization, and it wasn't behind some arbitrary barrier.
Fashion tactics is one of the more important metas of these games.
Yeah, absolutely. The subclasses were really cool because obviously you get like specs and stuff. I think in XCOM you basically had like 2 specializations per class. Was that accurate?
Yeah, basically you have basically like a left and a right side of the tree that you were going down. Yeah. And they were either like, oh, you're going to be either really good with pistols or really good with rifles.
Right. Yeah, in this, it's usually like like action and passive based. So like you can
they didn't add magic to the game?
No, sometimes it feels, well, like the healing's pretty much magic. I mean, in game, it's just you shouting at someone and then they heal to their full fucking health bar. So I guess
I would have loved
if
they had just added anything. Oh, also now his canon is a wizard, and he's just gonna like cast fireball and summon dragons and shit. But it's fine. Everything else is the same.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what explosive shot is. Like, why does firing this gun with this one action like make them explode? It doesn't make sense, but it's not magic, quote unquote.
That's fair.
But yeah, the specializations were cool. Like, it's instead of 2, it's 4 subclasses, like I said, and it looks like an X, the grid. So you could basically, go diagonal across the whole screen and spec out that way, go down the entire left side, go that way. There was a lot of interesting combinations. Some of them seemed like really broken. Like Sniper Marksman seems absolutely disturbingly good. It'd be like, oh yeah, you have like an 80% chance crit, 95% chance hit, and every time you crit, you get 2 actions and reload, and it's like, what? So like, it's in some matches it got to the point where I was just blowing everyone away with my sniper, and I'm like, I should really spread the love around.
So is this one of those games where like it's balanced by virtue of how unbalanced it is? Like everything's out of whack, so it's fine.
Yeah, well, the leveling is so slow that it's sort of artificially balanced. Like I never found myself like focusing on leveling up somebody or another. Like they would always sort of end up getting leveled up just by virtue of how fights would play out and how the maps were laid out. Like Sniper's obviously not good in every map. That's the case in XCOM too.
Right.
So yeah, I think I'd consider that pretty balanced as to how like everyone was leveling up. I'd say to its detriment though, it is definitely too slow for non-hero units because, like I said, they become irrelevant really quick. The one thing that annoyed me about the mission structure was that you could they'd give you 3 side quests, and you know, like I really enjoy preparing for like big encounters and stuff. So like one of the things I really like about RPGs is like, oh, I'm gonna go grind. Like I don't feel comfortable going into this fight. Like I'm gonna go grind out 2 or 3 levels real quick.
Right.
In this game, it's like, oh, you get 3 sub missions within this chapter, and you can only do 2 of them. It's like, well, just let me do all 3. Like, well, this is a big fucking deal. Like, as long as I'm not using the heroes over again, who cares? So, like, that was also sort of hindered me being able to maintain these non-hero units, and that annoyed me.
That's a fair complaint.
Yeah. But yeah, like a lot of the core Gears experience translates to this game, like all the executions, you know, kicking tickers into enemies and watching them blow up. You can still plant grenades, which is like really tricky to set up because you have to do it in the middle of combat. So you have to like run up, plant the grenade, and then run back. Like that's that entire hero's turn. But when you nail it correctly, or if you find time to do it, it's very, very satisfying. Yeah, there's so much depth to the game that I don't want to say it's an XCOM light. It's sort of like another iteration of XCOM, and I think all the comparisons are fair because I think it's a very, very good game. I don't think it has the depth that XCOM does. I don't think it's quite as good as XCOM, but it's still on the same pedestal. Like if you were running the Olympics, like XCOM would probably get the gold and Gears Tactics would get the silver, and like that's still pretty fucking good, despite whatever your mom says when you get home.
So, what would you like? Is there stuff going on in between missions outside of the outfitting? Like, does it have that kind of management light, tycoon light stuff that XCOM has?
Not tycoony at all, but there is some gear in the game. So you have primary rewards for missions, then you have optional rewards. You meet certain criteria, you get bonus rewards, and that's all gear based. So all of your individual units have, I think, they have 3 armor slots and 4 weapon slots for their primary guns. There's like a lot of gear customization in the game.
Okay.
That is completely hindered by how terrible those menus are. I'm sorry, Andy.
Yeah.
It's an absolute nightmare. If you wanna change all of your armor, you need to go to the chest menu and then the leg menu and then the helmet menu separately. You can't cycle through them. Yeah. It's very frustrating. The weapons are way more smoothly done. It's just like, oh, this is the scope I'm using next. This is the barrel I'm using next. I don't know why they made it so cumbersome for armor. It's truly stupid. It's faster to set it to like chest armor and then toggle through all of your allies and just go through all of their chest armors and then do that again for helmets and for legs.
Wow.
Than it is to do one hero at a time. Very, very weird layout.
That's bizarre. That's unfortunate too, because
yeah,
now I'm not going to play it. But
but yeah, to answer your question, no tycoon mechanics. All of the upgrading is via gear.
How linear or baked in is it? like, are the maps random, or is this a singular linear campaign?
All of the story maps are different. The side quest maps are definitely in a pool that it just pulls from, maybe randomly. I'm not
Okay.
sure. There's not enough side quests for me to know how it's set up because like I said, you only get like those 3 or 4 side quest options. It could be procedurally generated. I definitely seen the same maps a couple times. Not a bunch. It's not like the same ones recycled. But when you get core story missions, they're always unique, and when it's side quests, it comes out of a pool.
Is it feel like it's replayable?
Yes, because it's fun. I don't know what it has for like New Game Plus features, other
Okay.
than more challenge. Like I think that's primarily what you get with XCOM 2. It's like I want to try this again, but harder, and prove that I'm better at the game.
Yeah, I think with
And
XCOM, like one of the big things, and I think it was more in XCOM Legends than current XCOM, it was that idea that you're going to lose the game the first 10 or 15 times you play.
yeah,
And I think they're a little bit more. Modern games don't really do that anymore. Of
yeah.
let you get 15 hours into a game and then let you lose.
I mean that happened to me in fucking XCOM Enemy Unknown. So that's definitely still happening.
Yeah, it does, but I think it's more of an anomaly.
Yeah.
Because that definitely didn't seem to be the case with Chimera Squad. They were very open, like, yeah, just load to one of the myriad of save games that we've created for you. We've been auto saving this whole fucking time.
Yeah.
So how long? Oh, you say you haven't finished it, but how long do you know how long it is? Have you have an idea of how long of a campaign it is?
Yeah, I'd say I'd probably put about 15, maybe 20 hours into it, and I'm probably at least 3/4 of the way through it. So maybe 25 hours, and that's with me, watching the cutscenes. I haven't mentioned the story at all. Not worth mentioning. Don't play this game for the story. If you've played any Gears game, you already have a gist of what's going on. Like there's some weird underground stuff going on. You got to fucking deal with it. Like that's it.
That does sound.
Um,
Is it canonical? Like, is it actually part of the main Gear story? Is it,
yes.
Okay.
It is the main character, quote unquote, in this game. He's the main. I say quote unquote because he's not like the primary character you're playing all the time, but he is the most frequently used character. He is somehow directly related to the main character of Gears of War 5. I don't know how, but they have the same last name. And before this released, I remember them talking about how they wanted there to be stories in the bloodlines, the famous bloodlines of Gears of War. And that's what they were trying to do with Gears Tactics and what they're trying to do with other future Gears games, I guess.
Do you think this is going to be one of those games that sticks around? Like, is this going to be something like Halo Wars, where people are going to look back at and say, like, that was kind of that was a surprisingly good for being a spin-off game?
Yes, I think it's gonna be a bit of a cult classic because it is such a solid game. I haven't, other than what I've already mentioned, I'll mention some other beefs I have with the game after, but I haven't had too many problems with it. I think it's a really solid experience. I think it's probably already underrated. It's probably only going to be because of Game Pass that people are hopping on it. And I don't even know how popular Game Pass is for PC. Maybe it'll get second legs when it's on console. I haven't heard that many people talking about it, but it's like it should not be missed by tactical fans.
So you would recommend this for tactical fans?
Yeah, I recommend it for tactical fans. It's a tricky genre to get into. Especially if you've even games like Fire Emblem, which are grid based, those are hard games to get into. So I hesitate to recommend it to a lot of people. If you like tactics games, if you're interested in tactics games and have the patience to learn tactics games, and you don't have such a high pride level where you're not willing to play a game on easy, you could probably get into this. But tactics games are unforgiving. This game can absolutely be unforgiving. If you're not playing on Iron Man, you might have to do a mission 3 or 4 times because you just keep doing one silly thing. or the enemies spawned in a fucking triangle formation instead of a box formation, and that's enough to throw off your entire battle plan. Um, this game may not be for you because it can be frustrating, but it's at its core. If you like the genre, you're going to like this game. Period.
You have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm trying to save my beefs for afterwards because they're occasionally nitpicky, so I don't want it to take away from the experience entirely. If you like what you heard already, you're gonna like the game. If you weren't interested, none of this may apply to you, but I found, like I said, almost all of the menus were a bit cumbersome, especially with what I mentioned with the upgrading. Some textures were really janky. I found that most of the bugs I saw in the game were visual. Sometimes with the line of sight and like snapping to the walls and stuff, it would say that I'd snapped to the wall or I'd clicked it right, and I'd just find myself like running up next to cover and standing up staring directly down the barrel of a fucking gun, and I'd be like, oh god, I don't know what I'm gonna do about this. And so like, again, that's one of those immersion experiences, like, I fucked up royally, gotta deal with that now. And like, there's fun to be had there, but when it's a bug or a glitch, it's less fun. I got really sick of the music in the game. It's the same Gears music. It's the most Gearsy music. Like, if you've played any Gears game, you know what the music is. Like, just play biome appropriate music sometimes. You know, mix it up a little bit for the love of God.
That is tough with some of these smaller games.
Yeah.
That it kind of, you get to that point where like they don't have as large of a soundtrack, and you notice it more.
Yeah, I guarantee there's not that much unique music that was created for this game. Like, somebody just gave them free reign to the fucking music assets for all the Gears franchise, and we're like, better make do. This is a low budget game. I think this is selling for $40 on Steam. It's not... Actually, no, I lied. I'm pretty sure it's a $60 game, so it's going to be $50 more than Chimera Squad at launch, $40 more base. So if you're between these two games, that might be a selling factor for Chimera Squad. All in all, I thought it was a pretty fantastic game. It's not a perfect tactics game, but it's a lot of fun. And if you have any interest in the Gears franchise, it's going to be a great game to also get into.
Now, actually, question for you. What if I have absolutely no interest in the Gears franchise?
Well, a lot of the things that are really satisfying about the Gears franchise are still in this game. Like I said, they translate well. So I guess if you don't know those things, you're going to be experiencing them for the first time, like running up to somebody and chainsawing them in half. Like, it's just as satisfying as this game. Maybe more so, because you don't have like that awkward moment of like, in the third-person perspective in the core Gears franchise, pulling up the chainsaw, revving it up, and awkwardly fucking shambling towards somebody to try and hack them. Where in this, you'll like be like, I'm using the chainsaw ability. It's going to be on cooldown for 3 turns, but it's worth it to hack this dude in half because he was stupid enough to run up, 10 feet further than his buddies. And that execute with the chainsaw gives everybody actions, like... There's definitely like this waterfall effect that happens on top of like getting those really satisfying Gears specific moments that you don't get in other games. Like I had mentioned before, like the Retro Lancer has a bayonet on it, so effectively you get this movement ability that also one-shots anyone in your line of sight.
Oh,
so you'll just charge at them, you'll execute them, but you then will be standing out of cover, so you have these moments where everyone else has to cover for you, and that's the exact same scenario will happen in the Gears of War shooters, because your buddy will be like, this guy needs to die, and it's just, wah! And you're like, no, don't do that. And like, there's 50 guys looking at you, so suddenly you're throwing down covering fire, praying that he gets out of there, and if he doesn't, he falls to the ground. There's second wind in this too, which is really cool. That's how you get injured in the game, similar to like the XCOM injuries that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go down, you lose a quarter of your health bar, and like that has to regenerate over the course of missions. If you go down twice, you can keep getting picked back up, but you'll keep losing health bars, and like your max health will be in half if you go down twice. So you can't like just run out, and obviously they can just run up and execute you and finish it. just like in XCOM, but also just like in Gears. So that's sort of what I mean by like how it just translates really cleanly to tactics games.
Well, that's good. That sounds like a good game. I've got the Xbox Game Pass. I've actually even got it installed. I just never actually booted it up.
We gotta stop mentioning Game Pass. We're not shills, Andy.
Yeah, okay. Well, I got it on that thing. I got it for free through piracy. I stole it from the XCOM people. XCOM.
Yeah,
Xbox people.
Fucking reported. Yeah, I would say less audience-based and more Andrew direct, but you should absolutely play this game. It's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy it. You didn't enjoy Gears 5 that much, did you?
I did not know.
Have you ever liked any of the Gears franchise?
I enjoyed playing some Gears multiplayer, like Gears 2 multiplayer. So if you can, figure out when that date was, but that was very early on in my Xbox gaming days.
2007, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's about right. I've not been a huge fan, but I've not been a huge fan of Gears because I didn't like the feel of the movement in shooting.
Yeah.
And so as a tactics game, that probably wouldn't come up as much.
Yeah, right. And like I said, a lot of the movements in Gears, even Gears 5, are pretty awkward. So that's completely eliminated in this. Like, other than technical issues, it's very, very clean. And it feels good the way you snap to walls. Like, you get extra movement, too, if you snap to a wall just right. So, like, if you're, like, within a few feet of a wall, you'll slide to it instead of just stopping short. Because, that's the maximum you can run. So that always feels good. Like, all the sounds, like you clunking up against the wall, feel really good and really authentic. Yeah.
Well, I've got it installed. Maybe I will boot that up tonight.
Do it.
No, I'm just going to play more Slay the Spire. It's a good thought, though.
Yeah, that's... Me too.
All right, want to wrap this up?
Yeah, let's rank these bad boys real quick.
Oh, right, yes, that part of it.
Yeah, I'm getting better, Brain.
Yeah, I'm glad one of us is, because I'm just hot garbage at remembering.
Gears Tactics is my number one game thus far this year for games that were released in 2020. If Persona 5 Royal wasn't a remaster or a Game of the Year edition, it would probably be up there, but it unfortunately doesn't qualify. How about you?
Yeah, XCOM Chimera Squad is my current game of the year. I'm putting that in at number 1. It beat up Murder by Numbers just because I don't see myself playing Murder by Numbers again, just because it's so story. And XCOM Chimera Squad I could see myself playing again this year, just jumping back in and having some more fun with that. So that definitely puts it up there. Yeah, I think so. It's not the best game I played this week, because the best game I played this week was Unreal Tournament 1999.
Oh,
but
damn it.
That's that's not their fault. They just can't be as good as an arena shooter from 21 years ago.
Of course. Well, that means that 2 tactics games are on the top of both of our boards. I think that's kind of interesting because that may be the only intersection of games we have the same sort of love for as tactics games. Like, we, for the most part, play completely different game genres. Yeah,
but I think tactics and rhythm games, I think, are the only ones that we have that kind of connection on.
Yeah. Oh god, I was just thinking about Power Rap of the Rapper as I was playing the fucking karaoke in Yakuza Kiwami. I was like, oh man. It's sad that I'm getting into this and then also wanting to play Power Rap of the Rapper.
So someday someone will make a spiritual successor to the Parappa series.
I fucking better. I don't know what the hell they're waiting for. Those games were perfect.
Hey, I mean, if we got a spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio, we can get a new Parappa the Rapper.
That's honestly all I ask. It's 2020. What the fuck are we waiting for? Those were PS1 games.
I can't imagine those licenses are all that expensive right now.
Should we look into buying them? Is that a thing we can do as individuals?
I think so. I think once we get our Patreon up, which is definitely happening, and we get up to, I don't know, like 9 patrons at a price of $500 a month, we can get a copy of that, and then you and I will jump into Unity and learn Unity and make a new Parappa the Rapper game.
Can we own a trademark as a committee? Is that a thing, or do we have to just release it into public domain?
No, I think we.
How would that
I
work?
think we basically create like the gaming equivalent of a homeowners association.
Just charge people monthly via Patreon
That's
for access.
the
to lawn mowing
Patreon.
services?
The Patreon itself is a legal entity, and it owns the Parappa the Rapper license.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. That's how they make their money.
If we could also
on top
pick
of
up the
every
Buck
other way.
Bumble license, I think that would work out well for me too. I think we could do some interesting stuff with that. There aren't enough bee-based games, and I'd like to rectify that.
Oh, God. Well, I think that's it for episode 30, Andy. Where can people find you?
I hang around Twitter, usually around a name at Solitalker. I'm usually around there if you look. I don't do much on there other than yell at like my bank for not picking up the phone. That was what I tweeted today. It's not hot takes, but it's angry. So if that's what you want to see.
Maybe it's just me, but I get a lot of joy out of those.
If you want to see a middle-aged man shouting into the void, that's it. There it is. Check me out on Twitter at Solitalker. How about you? Where can they find you?
At Arcadia on places. I guess probably just follow me on Xbox or PlayStation if you're interested in seeing what I'm doing, because I don't really post that much on social media either, but I'm out there. Find me. Arcadia. ARKEYDIA.
Challenge him to 1v1. Doesn't matter the game. Just challenge him to
Yeah,
1v1
I'll
at
win.
all times.
I'll win while I'm sleeping with your mother. It's just hard facts. Goodbye.
Bye.